Hey guys, welcome back to another tutorial. We are in Blender 4.0 here, guys, and today I'm going to be doing something that I have loved doing lately, which is basically picking a random object in my room. So these headphones, which is what I use for all gaming activities, and sometimes I'll just listen to music on these. They're really nice quality. I believe they're about $150 on Amazon if you want to buy them. This video is not sponsored, but what I'm going to be doing is trying my best to recreate these headphones in Blender. And I have a ton of reference images, which I just took on my phone, which I want to show you right here with the textures and stuff when we get to that stuff. But I took a lot of close ups to make sure that I am focused on the best quality headphones that we can possibly get. Again, I have the visual reference in front of me. It doesn't get much better than that. Then there's a ton of studio quality shots online. I have a couple of references on the right. Let's go ahead and hop right into it. So the way I like to do these tutorials is just basically show you the entire process, no cuts, everything from scratch, all in Blender. I'm going to try my best to keep all the textures in Blender too. I might import a couple of like dust maps and things like that, but I'm going to start out by just deleting everything. I'm on a clean slate, and we're going to build this thing with primitives. So let's go ahead and break this down. Let's take a look at the headphones one more time. As you guys can see, you can probably guess what primitives I'm going to start with. I think I'll start with some cylinders for the sides, and then what we'll do is we'll mirror those over to the other side when we're ready to do. But I think I can break this thing down in pretty simple shapes. So I'm going to start off with just adding my shapes in. So I'm going to add in a cylinder. I'm going to scale it down a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and just rotate it. We'll start with that. That'll be one of our ear cups right there. And we'll start breaking this down into specific parts now. So what I want to do is pull up one of my references. I have a side angle of the thickness of these. I also have it right in front of me. I'm going to actually pop over into my side view here, and I'm going to take a look at the thickness. I'm just going to focus on the black part, and then we'll do the like foam earpiece. But this black part, actually, that looks pretty close. I'll slim it down a little bit. That looks good. We can always come back to this. So there's a little edge on this. So I'm going to first add an edge split. Now, the way they set up the new Blender, to be honest, not a huge fan of what they did with the modifiers. I think it's a lot harder for me to modifiers, but I'm going to generate a edge split modifier, and then I'm going to add a subdiv. And what that's going to do is just kind of give us a little bit more of a smooth surface. Shaded smooth, and then we're going to hop into edit mode here. So I'm just going to take another quick glance at this. Now, it's interesting because there's a slight angle. There's some very slight angles on these headphones. I'm going to start by just having it to edit mode. I'm going to add in a loop cut here. I'm going to bring this over to the left here because that's where our edge is going to start. And I'm going to add one more loop cut to really make that kind of sharp edge. I'm going to head over to X-ray mode, highlight the vertices, scale them out over a little bit like this. That'll be kind of like that edge piece there. And then I'm also going to extrude that just a little bit like that. And I'm going to go ahead out of X-ray. I'm going to click on my surface here and just set that a little bit. That looks pretty good. As you guys can see, if you look at the reference, there's a little lip, black part right there. Kind of what I'm trying to create. Now, if you look really closely, it actually looks like it's a separate object. So maybe later we can cut that off. And now the other cool part about this is there is a slight pitch here. So if we go into our vertices select mode, we select these vertices, we should just be able to scale those in just ever so slightly. Really not much. And that's really it for the ear cups. Now we have to add this little, there's this little piece that holds the logo on the side. It kind of is jutted out a little bit, so I think I'm going to add next. I think what I'll do before that, though, is I will hop out of X-ray mode. I will click on this face, and I'm also going to inset this face. Now, more than likely, guys, I'll be using a lot of booleans. I know you guys aren't the biggest fan of booleans. I've gotten a lot of comments, model the real way, this and that. But to be honest, I get some of my best results when I use the boolean operation. So, and it, like I said, I think if you get the result you're looking for, it's fine. It's kind of personal preference. All right, so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to add in a cube here, scale it down here, and I'm going to try to keep it pretty centered. Now, if I look at this piece here, it's about that thin, more or less. Now, again, I like to break things down into primitives. That's just what I do. This is how I work. I'm going to take a look at where it butts up cylinder. So what I'll do is I will click on this shape. I'm going to duplicate this. I'm actually going to make this a completely separate shape. You'll see what I mean. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a really fun Boolean operation that I actually never use. I'm going to go ahead and click generate Boolean, and I'm going to use the intersect here for this. Now, what I just did there, I actually gave it this like kind of curved edge. The geometry is probably going to be messed up, so it's a couple times. Let me apply this and see how that. The geometry is a little whack, but we'll come. That looks good. All right, I'm going to go ahead and bring this over to headphones now. Now, this is the part where we're going to want to combine these two things. We're going to have to be really careful about how we do this because we can really mess up the integrity of the headphones. Start adding more booleans. But so far, this is looking pretty good. There is a slight bevel on this. So I'm just going to see if I can do that. I'll probably do that. Actually, I could probably do it. I'll probably do it after. Sorry, after I combine. Let me go ahead and Boolean. I'm going to generate another Boolean. We'll do union here. Hide the original one. And there it is. So luckily, we're kind of like close enough where I feel like we're barely meeting the edge there. Realizing now this isn't quite centered. Very straight. Oh, I see why. Okay, so I noticed a mistake that I just made, but it's okay because we can correct it. We should be able to scale this in on the Y. A mistake that I made, actually, guys, is I didn't cut the boolean properly the first time. Luckily, we're pretty close to the edge, so we should be okay. But you can see there's a little seam there. But we'll come back to that. I'll probably be remeshing this anyway to make it look a little bit more realistic and add some scratches and things like that. But so far, so good. All right, so we have our base line down for what we want here. Just checking what else. Okay, so this like grill part of it, as you guys can see in the camera up here, there's like a grill on here. So I'm gonna start adding in features for that. I'll probably just use the array modifier, but to be honest, that whole piece can be its own thing. So what I'll do is I'll make the grill completely separately from this. I'm gonna duplicate this out here. I'm gonna tab into edit mode. I am going to delete everything on this. Make sure you guys, when you guys are deleting stuff like this in the side view, make sure you are in you're in X-ray mode. Otherwise, you'll get some really weird, and you won't be able to select. All right, so we have this plate, which is perfect. That's exactly what I'm looking for. It's inset. It's actually perfect. It's exactly what I need. I'm going to get rid of the Boolean operation on this guy. Let's go ahead and solidify this. I'm going to generate a solidify modifier. I really hate what they did with the modifier. Guys, I'm not a fan. This is the only time I've ever complained about anything in Blender. I hate what they did over here. I loved the drop down. Loved it. I don't know why they got rid of it. They should have never gotten rid of it. Do me. That's my opinion. Anyway, all right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in some cubes here, and I'm just going to cut right into this bad boy. Let's move the X. Let's slim this down a bunch. Now, in terms of the actual dimensions of this, I'm probably not going to be measuring. I'm just going to be looking at our visual reference. Right? I'm going to try my absolute best to match. What's great about modifiers is that we can adjust this. I feel like that's the best thing about it. So the other thing is I'm actually going to be cutting. It's going to be kind of complex, but there's going to be multiple Boolean operations going on. One for the piece that's cutting into the grill, and then one that is cutting into the thing that's cutting into the grill. You'll see what I mean in a moment. So I'm going to start off by just quickly adding an array modifier to this. I'm going to, of course, choose the Z axis. Go ahead there. And then I'm going to go ahead and let's see how. I'm going to scale this out a little bit so that it covers the entire cylinder. I'm going to increase the count. 1, 5, 6, 10. There's 10 on each side, which means I'll probably have to do a mirror modifier as well. So I'm going to do a mirror modifier. This is going to get complex because of how many modifiers I'm about to add to this. I'm going to, of course, select that object. And let's go ahead and take a look. So it's going to look something like this. Now, of course, I'm going to have to space it out differently. I'm going to make sure that these spacing is accurate. And I'm going to turn on X-ray mode so I can see where this is going to butt up against this here. That looks pretty good. So in terms of what we're cutting into here, that should be pretty good. And then we're gonna have to cut into our slots as well because there's a slight. If you look at the edge on the right, I don't know if my live streamers can see. There's a slight distance between the outer edge and where we're cutting into. So let's go ahead and do the rest of that. He said, "It's the champ. What's up, buddy? Long time no talk. Hope you're doing well, man. We don't talk anymore, bro. Text me." All right. Let's also bump up this subdivision. So I'm gonna be needing a Boolean modifier, but before I do that, I'm gonna make sure that I have this piece out here with an inset. I'm actually gonna cut this face off here so that I have something like that. And we're gonna use that. I scale this out on the X and reset the origin. Scale it on the X. Bring it back. I'm going to scale it on the X so that we can actually cut through our fins here. And you'll see what I mean. I'm going to go ahead and click. I'm going to click on the fins. I'm going to add a array modifier, or sorry, Boolean modifier. I'm going to use this to cut into it. If we hide that, you can see that now our fins are proper. That makes sense. So our fins should cut properly into our other shape now. But before I do anything else, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply all modifiers to this. And a quick way to do that, you can right click on it, click on convert to mesh. And now it's got all of the modifiers applied. I'm going to tab into edit mode. I am going to select everything in the middle, right click. I'm going to click separate, selection. Now these two, there should be two separate selections. Oh, I only did the front. I'll undo that. I'm going to go into, actually, quicker way to do that, tab into edit mode, and I'm just going to go into x-ray mode and just delete everything. We want to go on face select mode. Sorry, my brain just like stopped there for a second. Getting all of the here. Go, that works too. I'm just separating everything so I can delete the original selection. Should be good to go. Now, when we go out of edit mode, and I hope you guys could follow that, I was just deleting everything but what I'm cutting with. We're going to click on our cylinder. We're going to go to generate, and we're going to click on Boolean, and then we're going to select our fins, and let's see if that did a good job cutting. There is our grate, and that's exactly what I was looking for. So now that we have our grate, we can resize it as needed. I think I'm going to make sure, here's what I'm going to do, guys, and this is so if we need to make changes, we can come back. I'm going to parent these fins to this piece so that when it comes time for it, if I need to do any modifiers, everything is parented. So I'm going to go ahead and parent that. So now when we move this, the other piece should come with it. All right, yeah, we're good. All right, and then these, I can go ahead and hide those. This, I should just be able to move along the x-axis. Now, my computer is really struggling right now because we are using OBS to record this in 4K format while I'm doing this. So, here is our grate. I'm just going to push it a little bit off to the side. That's fine. And what I'm going to do is I am going to make sure that this piece here, and I'm going to press the slash key to just focus on this piece, has an inset right here. I'm going to click on this face. I'm going to inset it ever so slightly. And I'm going to bring this back on the X. We want that recessed part right there because there's actually, if you look at the headphones, there's a slight recess behind this. And we're going to be applying materials to specific faces when we do this. That looks good. And let's go ahead and unslash that. Perfect. And this is going to get inset probably just a, actually, I'm sorry. This is going to, good. Perfect. All right. I don't know if you guys, I'm hoping you guys are following along. I know this is kind of a pain because there's a lot of different parts, but so far this looks pretty good. We have our grill. We have our piece in the middle, which is like for our logo. I'm pretty happy with what we have so far. One of the things I want to do is I want to double check this edge here. I'm not too happy with the way this looks, and that is probably just because of the way our edge loops are. So I'm going to bring one of our edge loops a little bit closer to the right side so we have a little bit more of a bevel and not such a, probably do. Really hard to select things. There we go. That's what I was looking for. See how that looks. That was kind of what I was looking for. That's perfect. All right, good. We have that nice rounded edge. Everything looks good up here. These two are pretty close to each other. We're not really getting that curve that we're looking for. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add one more edge loop right here. Just scale it out a little bit, and we should have a little bit more of an edge. And if you guys need to adjust things, adding edge loops is like the quickest way to like modify a cylinder. So this is looking really good. I'm also going to click on random so I can see what parts are what. This looks fantastic. I'm pretty happy with this so far. Now the text, we'll get back to that later. I'm probably going to make a custom image for that. There's only one thing I'm missing here, and it's on this edge piece right here. There's a little inset. Kind of hard to see, but if we go to our original cube, click on that, there's a little inset on this side here. So I'm going to try to achieve that by duplicating this in edit mode, scaling it way down, X, good, and let me just, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to separate this, separate the selection, and I'm actually going to duplicate it twice, cut into our original. I know this is like a lot, but I promise you there's a method to what I'm doing. I want to cut into it with a Boolean. Go ahead and scale this Y. I'm trying to match it up as best as I possibly can. Now, if you guys hold shift, you'll be able to more accurately scale things. I love that little shortcut. All right, I'm going to click on our original shape, add a modifier. For this modifier, we're going to do a Boolean, and we're going to select this shape right here. Yep, now we have a slight cut. I'm going to apply that as well. Then I'm just going to bring this plate back, scale it. And this is going to be where our logo actually sits. And we should have, everything should be good now. Now, yep, we're good. We just need to hide the original cube. We're good. And this is our plate right here. Boom. And then I'm going to scale it on the X, make it a little thinner. This is fantastic. So now we have our plate, which is separate from the original headphones. We have the piece that it sits on. And that's everything. I'm going to scale this grate down a little bit. I realize it's a... All right. I'm going to scale the headphones up. Scaling the headphones up might be easier, or just bringing out. I do want to make sure these edges align perfectly. Zoom in as far as I possibly can. Bring it over just enough. Perfect. I want it to be as flush as possible. Now, I can already tell that this is going to be pretty easy to shade. We'll just kind of add a little noise bump node on there, and we should be good to go. And we'll just make the color black. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the other parts of this headphone. Now, what's great about this is we're going to add a mirror modifier when we're ready for the other side. And this is all going to come together very soon. But what I'm going to do so far is I am going to quickly show all elements properly. I am going to show the hidden elements. I'm going to highlight everything. And I'm just going to quickly move it to a new collection so we can stay organized. I'm going to call this ear cup right. Perfect. And then as you can see, one of our cubes did that. I'll just drag everything in. There we go. Awesome. And the reason I'm doing that is just to make sure that everything is organized. Because sometimes when you're doing this stuff, it can get really disorganized really fast. All right. So we have everything there. That looks good. Just double checking to see if I'm missing any details. Okay. So the next part we're going to do, guys, is see this on screen. There's a little piece here. There's like a little nub that attaches to the hinge. We're going to work on that. That should be pretty simple. It looks like we could just cube. Let's go ahead and add in a mesh. Let's add in a cube. Let's bring this off to the left. I'm also going to put this in its own collection as well, just to keep things a little bit more simple. I'm going to put it within a collection inside of my other collection. I'm going to call this ear piece hinge. And I'll put it in. And then I'm going to, of course, add a mirror modifier as long as it's the same on the other side. It is. So I'm going to put it right about there. I'm going to add a mirror modifier. I'm going to select this object and I'll choose the Y axis, and now it's on both sides. And that's why I love modifiers. That's why I love Blender, because it's just so simple. They make it easy for you. And for someone like me who really isn't good at modeling, I can quickly scrap together things that don't look half bad. All right, I'm going to go ahead and just take a look at the side profile here. As you guys can see, it's a very geometric shape. It's pretty simple. It has a little bevel, so we'll probably add that. And um, as far as I'm concerned, this shouldn't be too hard to create. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tab into edit mode. I'm going to just subdivide it so I have a little bit more geometry to work with. I'm going to go to my X-ray mode, go to side view, go to vertice select mode, and then I'm going to quickly like scrap this together based on what I see. It looks like these two pieces should be off the right more a little bit. This piece should be brought down. Try to prop these up so I can see this. Okay, and then let's see. This part should be here. Now I'm in X-ray mode so that I can accurately pick out these pieces. This part should be down here. Here. This is a very weird shape, but it works. That looks fine. That's pretty much the shape. And this is a little. Now I know this looks weird, but that's exactly what that shape looks like if you look at it. So that's what we're gonna go with. And then there's a slight curve on this side, so I'm just gonna put this in just a little bit. Now what we're gonna do before we apply any more modifiers, make sure you apply your scale because your bevel will get all weird. I'm gonna generate a. I'm just curious if we do a bevel first, we should be able to do a slight bevel, and I'll give that, I don't know, 5 segments, and we'll just add in a subdiv. That looks pretty good. So what that did is that allowed us to have a nice bolt there. Fine. I'm pretty okay with that. The next thing we're going to do is add a Boolean modifier and cut our hole in for our screw. Also, I'm going to double check the scale of this real quick with our reference. It's about, here's what I love about the artistic process, and I learned this in college, but this isn't really something that's too advanced, but a quick way to tell the scale of something is just to compare it to something else. So if we look at this notch right here, you can see that it almost directly aligns with the top of that, and it's about the center or the bottom center of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my side view, and I'm just going to double check. I'm going to move this out real quick, double check, and make sure that that looks lined up. And actually, it's damn close to perfect, so I'm going to call it perfect. And I'm going to bring this back over to the side. And let's cut our screw hole in with a cylinder. I'm going to be using a Boolean modifier, my favorite modifier as of lately. I'm going to cut a hole into our here. Let me go ahead and zoom in. Let me double check how big that hole is compared to the actual shape. It's about that big, and it's not quite centered. It's a little bit up, like higher up a little. Also, just notice the bevel isn't that rounded. It's going to be a little bit smaller. That looks good. And this is going to cut right into our shape here. So I'm going to add a Boolean modifier. Sorry, I'm going to generate Boolean modifier. I can't begin to tell you how much I hate they did to. I really just. But that looks good. Now another thing we were going to want to do, I'm just going to shade this smooth. This is going to be a small detail. You're really not going to notice this from a distance. I look at this, the more I realize is this too. It is probably just. I'm probably overthinking. Now, see how the Boolean modifier isn't on the other side? That's because we have to rearrange the way these are. So before we do our mirror modifier, I'm actually just going to drag our mirror modifier to the end so that everything we've done from that point will be attached. So it'll apply to it. All right. So our screw. Now, if we look really closely at our screw, and it kind of shows in this picture too, the screw is a star key screw. So we're going to have to make a star, and then we're going to have to make a cylinder. Now, what's great about Blender is I can just take this cylinder right here. I can duplicate it, not delete it, duplicate it. I can also, I'm going to shade this flat. I can just take this and I can turn this into my screw. Now it'll be a little bit smaller, so I'm going to scale it down. I'm going to hide the other cylinder, and this will become our screw. Let me just take a look. I think I'm going to quickly Google it because it's probably easy. Blender star. Actually, I'm gonna use ChatGPT. This is the first time I'll use ChatGPT in a tutorial. How to quickly make a star shape. Blender. I have no shame. I don't care. It will tell me the quickest way to do it. It said delete the default cube first. Add mesh circle. Not bad. Do it. Create star shape. Once we. Okay, that's interesting. Actually, let me see. Let's see if that works. I'm going to add in. I'm actually going to use another cylinder. I'm going to delete everything but the top face. I'm gonna try my own method. See how well. Remember, be in X-ray mode when you go do this. Don't forget your shortcut keys. I can't express how important shortcut keys are. All right, I probably should have counted how many things were on the star. But what I want to do is I want to select like every other vertice. This. There's probably a better way to do this. I know. You guys can comment if there's ever a better way to do something than what I'm doing, you're more than welcome to comment that. Just be nice. Be nice about it. A lot of people, they want to be mean. All right, this is perfect. So this is exactly what I thought was going to happen. As you guys can see, when I scale in, I can get my star. The only thing is, this star has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points on it. This is way too many. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can unsubdivide this. I don't know if it's going to let me or not. All right, so we're just going to add a cylinder and we're going to make it have 6 sides. Add mesh cylinder. Now, before you confirm the cylinder, give it 6 vertices. I'm sorry, 12 because you need to do every other one. 13. Let's try this. All right, so we're going to delete the bottom. We're going to go into X-ray mode, or and we're going to tab edit mode. We're going to go to our top-down view. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Scale it in. And then our star shape is starting to form. I'm just double checking the sizing. That looks pretty good. Again, this is a small detail, but I want to show you guys that I care, and I want to make this look good. All right, rotating it. I'm also going to set origin to geometry so that it's nice and centered. Scale it way, way, way down. Bring it over on X. And then we're just going to use a solidify modifier to make it solid. I'm going to delete this circle. I'm going to take our star. I'm going to generate. God, I can't. I'm going to generate a solidify modifier. I am going to scale this down. Fine. These, I'm going to just quickly center those to 0, 0. Same here. Just the quickest way for me to center both of them. And then I'm going to move them along Y. Take my other cylinder. Move it here. Scale this down a bit. I'm just going to double check spacing here. What's great is the Boolean modifier. We can adjust it as we did. I love modifiers. Before I do the Boolean, I'm just going to generate. Can't get over it. I'm going to generate a bevel. I'm also going to make sure that I apply my scale. That's the bevel. Good. Then the difference is going to be this guy here. And we're going to go ahead. That we're going to hide this star screw. Good. It's kind of hard to tell with the shading right now, so I'm going to cavity, kind of see the edges a little bit more. All right, that looks good to me. The only thing I'll say that I didn't do that I probably could do is just adjust the actual pitch of it, or sorry, the angle of it. I'm gonna go ahead and select both of these. Go to my side view, rotate them so they match. Good. Again. And we're looking good. So we have our star bolt there. Let's go ahead and add a mirror modifier. All right, let's generate a mirror modifier. Yep, you can see I'm still not over it. And when we select this, we should get screw on the other side. That's perfect. And let me just double check the spacing. It looks good. It's flush. I will say it's a little bit inset, so I'm just going to mark that it's side is just a little bit away from the. That looks fantastic. And I am. All right, so we got our screw. As you guys can see, I'm not skipping over any details. All right, let's go ahead to the next detail here. There is a little piece holding the hinge, which looks like looking really close. See, this is why having it in person is so much better. It just looks like a cylinder or something. So hard to see the shape of it on the side view here. I think it kind of looks like an elongated box or a cylinder. So I'm just going to quickly scrap something together that looks semi-accurate. I'm going to add a mesh cube, scale it down, bring it over on the Y, scale it down some more. Crazy what you can do with just like simple primitives. That looks fine. I'm going to bring that next. It's going to sit right about there. Now, I did realize too, these pieces here, all of these pieces are actually slightly offset. But let me account for all of them. They're about hide this. I'm just going to give this a bevel modifier, and we'll apply this scale. Give it a few. Smooth. That looks good. Now, when we get to shading, you guys will see, but this should all work out just. All right, let's go ahead and generate another modifier, a mirror modifier on the Y, and it should be on the other side now, and we're good to go. All right, so I know it's taken a while just to get past this part, but I promise you, we are getting to the good stuff. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do, before I do the cord, I'll probably do that last. Excuse me. There's a part on here that actually holds the headphones like up on the end. It's like a little metal plate that kind of splits into two. We should be able to use a plane to create this. So I'm going to go ahead and add in a plane up, make it in its own collection. I'm going to say it's an earpiece holder. That's what it looks like to me. Now this is just the way I'm doing it. Remember, you guys do not have to do everything the way that I do it. I'm just showing you my process. I could use a curve for this. Nah, let's do the thing that I'm doing. Okay. We're gonna use a mirror modifier as well, probably. This is a really, really interesting, like organic shape. So I'm probably going to start by scaling this down. This is going to be kind of a weird way that I do this. You guys might not agree with this method, but I'm going to subdivide this first. I'm going to tab into edit mode. I'm going to delete these vertices here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in a mirror modifier on the Y axis. So now anything I do to this side will happen to the other side. Pretty simple. And then I'm just going to start by like probably deleting these two here. And I'm going to start with this really thin band. And I'm just going to work my way through this. So another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a subdiv, and you guys will see what that's going to do in a second. But more or less, it's gonna make. I'm going to disable it for now. I want to do the basic shape, but it's going to give us kind of like a more curvy edge to this thing. All right, let's start off by kind of looking at our side profile here, which is right. Interesting. So this basically looks like it covers the exact curvature of our headphone. I'm going to start off right here. I am going to start off by adding a loop cut here. I'm just going to start by piecing this together to the best of my abilities. Probably just going to be extruding it, if that makes sense. So I'll start off by doing something like out a little bit, bring this slightly. It might help to be able to visualize subdiv on here, so I'm just going to add it for, again, this is temporary. And this is, like I said, this is kind of an abstract shape, so you guys might have to give me a second to get the hang of how this is actually going to look. This is definitely gonna take some work, but it's gonna look good when I'm done. I promise you that. Also just realized I need to scale this in a bunch. Yep. Okay, cool. It's a good start. All right, good. I'm happy with that. Go ahead and take these. Why? It's kind of hard because I'm kind of looking at this as I do it, which is actually making it. I have to double check myself like a lot. Loop cut here. I'm gonna give it one more subdiv, excuse me, so that I can see how it's gonna. It's actually pretty curved. I probably should have made it a little bit more to start with. It actually follows the curve pretty close. I'm gonna try to follow it as it does follow it pretty. It's just this weird part over here that kind of goes out a little bit. As you guys can see, it looks close. Like, be happy. I'm gonna do next. I'm gonna go ahead. Oh, I mean, this is starting to look pretty good. I actually think it looks very good. It's interesting. It sits. I want to look at it in real life. Yeah, it does. Okay, it sits. Okay, that's my fault. It does sit lower than I thought it did. Now, another thing I'm going to add to this, just real quick, so I can visualize, is a solidifier. We can make this as thick as we want. Now, luckily, this is just like a cut piece of steel or something, so it looks like this already. We don't have to do too much with like a bevel or any weird geometry. This is starting to look really good. I just got to fix the top. I'm pretty happy with the way it's looking. To fix the top part here. Good. Trick there. I think that might be it. Now, it's not perfect, but it's darn close. The only other thing I could think of is maybe like down here, like get add a little bit more try to really match this up with the circle. I'm pretty happy with that. I'm gonna go ahead and take this and rotate it a little bit too. It's interesting because when I'm trying to figure out, okay, do I want the headphones to be sitting like this, closed, or do I want them to be open like that? Either way, this is a little offset to the edge of the here. So I'm going to go ahead and double check where that lies. Actually in like almost a perfect spot. I'll leave that and we'll come back to it. That's good though. See how powerful it is with just modifiers and a plane? What you can do in Blender? Pretty cool. All right, so we got that part down. We have the screws. We have the pieces that hold the screws. I'm tempted to do the cord, but I just don't think I'm ready yet. Next thing I'm going to do is this little piece that attaches to the piece we just made. I don't know what it's called, but it has some screws in it, some star screws, and it has a bunch of stuff that's like engraved on the plastic piece. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to collapse all of my collections. I am going to add, let's see, I think I can make this out of a cube. You can make like anything. All right, I'm going to go ahead and scale this down to the size that photo. I'm going to roughly shape this out to what it looks like. Okay, that's good. Now, this is actually a pretty simple shape, and we're going to be using a mirror modifier on this because if you look, it's like split in the middle, and I want to be as accurate as possible for this whole thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just bevel the edges. I'm going to try my best to match shape. We could cut into this with a boolean. Again, there's a million and 10 ways to do everything in Blender. So I think what I'll do is I'll just start by like rough shape, and I will use the mirror modifier for. Go ahead and add modifier, and I'll be selecting this for our mirroring part right here. And then because, oh, maybe because we. All right, so we're just going to give it a little bit of separation, and I'll come back later and adjust. All right, this is looking good. I'm going to go ahead and just bevel one of the sides here. Or, one of the edges. Edit mode. Yep. I'm going to bevel this edge. Control B. Beveled. Before I do that, though, then beveled quite a bit, but also like not too much. Good. I also just totally realized I should probably have a mirror modifier on the other. So before I do that, subdivide, delete everything on the right, and apply our other part of the modifier there. Then select this edge, bevel it. There we go. Now we're getting on both sides. That looks pretty good. Pretty happy with that. This middle edge kind of a little bit, but I don't think I'm ready to do that. I'm just going to bevel this corner just a little bit, slightly bevel model. And then here's where it gets really interesting. This side, if you look on the side view, we have like some slight part of this. So our mirror modifier actually won't work. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to tab out of edit mode, get rid of the D modifier here. I'm going to tab back into edit mode again. And I'm going to select this one side and I'm going to scale. I'm going to scale accordingly. So I'm eyeballing this right now. This is interesting. Okay, so I'm going to go to vertex, select mode, make sure I'm in X-ray mode, bring this over, the X, add a loop cut, scale, just like see what that. Yep, that's exactly going for. Be careful in the middle there, but I'll fix that in a second. All right, that is exactly what I was going for. Now I want to bevel this part of the other side as well. Go ahead and this not. And I just did SY0 there, which basically just scales it to 0. And that's kind of weird, but it's what. All right, and let's go ahead and take a look at this side. I think this is what I'll bevel next. Bevel the outer edge. I am curious if I add a bevel modifier, what that would do. Normally wouldn't do that, but let's see, it might add a good. Actually, I'm fine with that. That's exactly what I wanted anyway. And we'll just add a segments there. That looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. Now there's a part in the middle that's kind of like indented. For the most part, I'm pretty happy with the way that turned out. There's a part that's cut out of the bottom. There's also a part like indented around the middle. I'm going to attempt. I'm going to roughly attempt to do that. I go ahead and see where that is. It's off to this side. I'm going to go to X-ray mode. I'm going to add a loop cut here. Then I'm going to add 2 loop cuts inside of that. So I'm going to highlight those loop cuts. I feel like a surgeon right now. Do this. And then if I scale those in, I should get that indent. I just here. And I have to go X-ray mode. Z, right. SY0. Good. G. Place. X-ray mode. That is the indent I was looking for. Getting somewhere. Shade that auto. Might be the bevel. Getting some weird geometric issues here. You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to eyeball it with vertices. Move it in. It. Fix it. Ah, it did. Look at that. Easy fix. All right, cool. All right, this is looking good. Again, I'm trying to get every single little detail that I can. It's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be good. It's going to be good enough for me. All right, I'm going to go ahead and select these pieces here, these vertices. I'm going to bring them just a little bit. Look like they're kind of hanging in a bit more like this. I have to select the whole other. You know what? I'm going to leave it. I'm not going to overthink that. But the bevel we can increase as much. I think I think this looks great. This is great for this specific piece. Next, just make sure properly. Now this part kind of overhangs like this. Then there's a hole in the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and add in, yes, you guessed it, another cube. Scale it. And we're going to cut a hole into the bottom of this. And it's going to have to cover the width of this thing. Fine. We'll add a Boolean modifier. We will select this cube. We will hide. Oops, did I use the wrong Boolean? Yep, there. There it is. All right, that's exactly what I was looking for. Now, I know it looks funny, but that's exactly what it looks like in real life. Maybe just slightly smaller. Like the actual hole itself is slightly smaller, but where is this located? I have to find the collection. This is going to be slightly smaller. Perfect. We'll come back to that. I know it sounds funny, but this is actually a hollow shape in real life, so that's what we're going with. All right, we have that piece. This is great. Just wait until we add the rest of our Boolean modifier. All right, have this piece here. This is looking fantastic. And then, oh boy, I feel like I've been saving the most difficult parts for like the end. Okay, we have two options here. We could either do the headband part. Should do. Yeah. Okay, so this is gonna be a complex part, and here's why. Because if you look, there is a lot going on with the physical aspect of the cloth. Underneath of this, there's just like a metal band, like, but if you guys look on the cloth, I don't know if you guys can see, there's a lot of little ridges. There's buttons, physical buttons that snap into place. This is going to be a sculpting. This is going to be part sculpting and part modeling. Kind of probably modeling first. I just realized though, guys, before we continue, I missed the screws on this inside of the ear cup piece thing. So I'm just going to quickly slot in some screws right there. I'm probably just going to use the same exact screw. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually, yeah, I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to apply the Boolean. Then the bevel, I'm going to, actually it did not apply the Boolean. We're going to make it from scratch. These other ones are more rounded in. All right, again, leave it to me, guys, to overthink it. That is my specialty. One thing I will say is when you add in your cylinder, make sure you guys give it a few more vertices. Good. Bring that up. RY90. Rotate it. I'm also going to set my origin to the G. I don't know why, but that wasn't originally set to the G. All right, we're going to go ahead and cut into this thing. Before we do that, we're going to double check spacing. I'm really, guys, you know what? One thing I'm really good at doing, I didn't realize until today, I'm really good at eyeballing things. Like eyeballing the size of something. Okay, we're going to mirror this on the Y. That, we're good. And then we're going to cut right into that. I could use the Boolean modifier, the bool tool, but I find that it actually messes things up sometimes, so it's best to just do this by hand. That looks fine. And then we need our bolts. So let's unhide those cylinders. Thought I put this in its own collection. It's to earpiece. Oh, this doesn't have its own collection. What would we call this? I'm gonna call this. Oh, my ADHD brain isn't allowing me to move forward, guys. But we're gonna just trying to remember all the things I did to this. Oh, there it is. Okay, so it's just these two pieces here. This. These are all going to move into their own collection. They're going to be called left, right, enclosure. It's kind of like a little enclosure. Fine. And we're going to hide these. We're going to build our screws out yet again. I tab into edit mode. I do delete the vertices, turn off my mirror modifier, tab again. I realize now that no going back, you have to add. All right, let's go. We'll add a we'll add a cylinder again. We'll give it 12 vertices. Tab into edit mode, X-ray mode, delete the vertices, bring it up. Go ahead and select every other vertex to make our star shape. 2, 3, 4, 6, 10. Good. RX90, RZ180. Reset geometry, RX90. Go, RZ90. I'm going to add a solidify modifier. So, pop out of X-ray mode. We're going to align this with our screw. A great way to do this is just literally copy and paste the coordinates. Do proper. D coordinate. Perfect. We're going to parent it to our object. Let's go ahead and add in a Boolean modifier, drag it above the mirror modifier, save real quick. Highlight our star, parent our star to our object. Good. And this. Now, one thing I forgot to do is actually bevel this edge here. That real quick. Let me. Thank you, Blender. I appreciate it. No, I appreciate you. All right, here we go. Off. I'm gonna look and see how beveled these are. White bevel. Go. X here. Shade smooth. Should be good there. And then there's a bunch of like words and stuff. We'll add that later. This looks pretty good though. I'm pretty happy with this. All right. Off to the parts that I don't want to do. I'm thinking about actually starting with the wire at the bottom here because I feel like it's pretty simple. And if you guys look, and I mean this part right here on the side, it's pretty simple. It's kind of just like this thing we can probably make out of a cube. There's some arrays going on here, some simple deform. The more I look at it, the more I'm like, how in the heck make this? But okay, I see it. So let's start with the wire itself because the wire is encased in this thing. So let's go ahead and let's make a new collection. I want to collapse all of the existing collections right now. I'm going to add in a curve, Bezier curve, drag it over here, move it to a new collection, call it wire. I'm going to call it bottom wires. The reason I'm calling it bottom wires and not like just wires is because there's actually more wires on this thing that connect the actual ear cups themselves. So we're going to work on that part next. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at wire. So I'm just going to go into my path settings, geometry. And this part's pretty cool because if you just increase the depth, you have a wire. I'm going to rotate this. I'm going to place it here. Place it here. I'm going to take a look at the thickness of the wire. See how close I am. A little bit thicker. Just for right now. I'm going to straighten everything out. Place, that looks good. And then I'm just going to take this bottom one, extrude it a little bit, and we'll come back to it. For the resolution, I'm going to choose 50 for both. We have a nice, good, clean resolution on our wire. I'm going to bring this up. It's properly placed. Pretty much in the center of that, more or less. All right, so we have our wire. Pretty simple. Now I think what I'm going to do next is I'm going to add in this piece that kind of sits around the wire. It's kind of like a guard. So let's take a look, really close look at this. Interesting. We're definitely going to be using the mirror modifier for this. I think I'll be able to use a cube, array modifier, simple deform. Should be pretty simple. I'm just going to quickly like analyze shape of it. Really strange shape. But I think I know how to make it pretty easily. Add in a cube. Of course, it always starts with the cube. Move that cube to the wires section. Scale it way down. Sometimes I like to just quickly size up the piece and just see how big it's going to be. That looks good. Go ahead and board. That's probably about the size of the thing. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this, scale this down like so, scale up, make it kind of this flat plate that can cut into this piece. And I'm going to look at how many cuts this thing has, and we're just going to use a bunch of booleans to make some bevel up. 5. It has 5. Ah, I know how we're going to do this. You guys are going to love this. This is why I love modifiers. All right, we're going to first generate an array modifier for this thing. We're going to go ahead and give this as many pieces as we need. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces total. 2, 3, 4. That's 5. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to apply that. I'm going to take the top 2, go ahead and go into X-ray mode. This one's a little bit taller than the other one, which is why I'm doing this. Good. I'm going to add in a simple deform modifier. Deform, we're going to do taper or not taper. Yep, it's taper. We're going to taper it just a little bit. So, good. Also scale this a little bit. Some. Trying to look really good. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to scale it on the X because it's a little thinner. Sizing this thing up. All right, that looks good. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add a couple of modifiers here. We're going to add a Boolean modifier and I think a bevel. Just looking to see where these pieces connect. There's also like, you guys look on both sides here. Bottom view. Both sides right here and here. Go to our bevel. We should be able to just bevel these sides here. Select sides. Good. Should be able to just bevel those just a little bit. But before we do that, let's add escape. Yep. Now let's bevel these. You'll see what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna add a mirror modifier. Good. We're gonna add a mirror axis, but choose this. All right. Yep. That was perfect. Awesome. And now we're gonna have this piece right here be the thing that connects. Now, this is weird because if you look at this right here, see, it's connected on every other level. So it's kind of like a tricky thing, but I think I should be able to do it. I'm going to hide this for a second. See, we take each face right here, 2, 3, 4, 5, subdivide twice. Yep. What we can do is we can interlink the edges. I think I'm just going to double check, see if this works. I think it should. We take these 3 and these 3, we can link them like that. That is pretty much what I was trying to do anyway. Should be good if we do that. And then we can probably extrude. Or we could do it the other way where we have a union of 2 shapes. We could hit this other one. See how well this would work with a Boolean. We add a Boolean to this. Again, 1,010 ways to do it. I'm probably overthinking the actual whole process. Yeah, it's not going to want to work. But that's okay. All right, we're going to get rid of that. We're going to do this a slightly different method. This looks really good so far. This is pretty much the exact thing that I'm going for. Probably just match this up. I think maybe I'll apply the union to this one, or the intersect modifier to this, and see if that works. Oh, that worked. Do the opposite. Basically, we would want to do the exact opposite of that, where it fills in. I'm sorry, excuse me. Every other level. That should work. This is looking. This is promising. Doesn't want to work for me. All right, that's okay. All right, we'll just do it a different way. I'm just gonna go ahead and add the same modifier, at least the same simple deform modifier to this. Shift click, Control L, copy modifiers. I'm gonna scale this down until it's pretty accurate. That's pretty darn close. Yep, be happy with it. Then what we would do is we decide where it gets cut and where it does not. That looks pretty darn good. Sorry, someone requesting to be in the live. Sorry guys, I don't normally do that. I apologize. Not anything against you guys. I just normally don't add people to the. If you guys are requesting, all right. Let's go ahead and just recreate those arrays here. I'm gonna do it manually. Sorry, I'm not gonna do it manually. I'm gonna generate an array. We'll do P. My brain power is dwindling, guys. What's happening? Sometimes when I'm on Blender for like a hot minute, it's like starts to become kind of well difficult because you're staring at a screen for so darn long. All right, cool. All right, so based on that, we should be able to actually get rid of the array modifier and just decide which ones we want to have a gap at. I want to have tab into edit mode, shift 1, 2, and let's go ahead and find our shape. Oh, what happened? Oh no, did I delete that? There it is. Oh my gosh, I deleted it for a second ago. That was kind of scary. Deleted the shape I worked so hard on. Give a boolean that. Oh, I see. I had it in the wrong collection. Okay, so I got a little confused there, guys. Sorry about that. I had that in the complete wrong collection. Also, when I did apply it, it actually ends up wanting to disappear. There it is. Okay, that's what I was looking for. Okay. There, one. Make sure it's selectable. Sorry, guys, this part, I did not think this part was going to get me all hung up like this, but it is because I wasn't paying attention to what I was doing. Just going to skip the other. Here. Talking to myself. There we go. That is what I was looking for. 1, 2. Yep, it's connected on the first, second. I think that's it. Pretty sure that's the shape I was looking for. 2, 3. Yep. All right. I'm okay with that for now. I really didn't want to spend that much time on that. And let's go. Okay. Boom. Although it does come down surface. All right, this thing is way smaller than I thought it was, so let's go ahead and adjust for that. Except for looking at the thickness of the wire compared to good. That can get hidden. I think that's it. Good thing I noticed that. Oh, we got something going on there too. Must be our modifier. Cool. All right. Sorry about that, guys. I did not want that to take that long. I sincerely apologize. But we're still here, and you guys are still with me. So. All right. Another thing I would like to do and show you guys how to do is how to make a spiral cord. We're not quite there yet. Actually, who am I kidding? Yeah, we can do it. I'll just add in a curve. I'm gonna go to curve spirals. If you guys don't see this, I think you have to enable the extra curves add-on. I'm just gonna do the first option here. I'm gonna adjust the height, radius. Oh, and if you can control Z, it will completely cancel, which is super annoying, but whatever. That's definitely one thing I wish they would change. Yeah, I would have to say. Um, go turns font radius. You can hold shift and adjust. I think that's fine. Give it a few more. Perfect. I'm just gonna copy the exact thing that I have for this one in terms of sizing, depth. Perfect. Now we have our chord right here. I'm gonna actually tab into edit mode, scale it down, scale it down. Now one thing we can do here is we can actually not attach this, but we can take one of these edges and like extrude it up like that. You have to be like really careful to do this. You could do something like that right here. By the original. I'm just wanted you guys to know you can do something. And you can easily adjust the curve, or you can add a new curve and have it be more bunched up. Because if you guys look at this one right here, see on YouTube, and this one compresses, so it's gonna be a little bit different. For the most part, though, looks pretty good. We can adjust that later. I'm actually just gonna hide that, and we'll come back to that original one. All right. Without further ado, let's try to work on the headband, and then we'll add the mirror modifier. Just give me 1 second to get a drink of water. Thank you guys. For those who have stayed this long, truly appreciate it. All right, here we go. So we have our headband. So headband, as far as I'm concerned, is just gonna have to be built out with possibly a plane that is warped or wrapped. It's gonna be an interesting. Maybe we'll add the solidify modifier and we'll sculpt from there. Part of me part of me wants to like kind of challenge myself on this one because if you really look at the way the top of the headphone is, it's kind of like overlapped on itself. There's kind of like multiple layers to it. And if you unbutton this, I'm going to show you, basically like a layer that wraps around us. So it's kind of interesting. We could use a curve profile for this. If you add in a curve, you do a circle, bring that up, rotate it on the y-axis like so, rotate it on the x as well. I'm just going to scale this up just so I don't really know how big this is supposed to be, but if you tab into edit mode, you can basically just delete this bottom piece here. NURBS circle. I'm pretty sure that's what. Yeah. Delete this vertex. We should still have the other ones. All right, we'll do this a slightly different way. We're gonna do it the original way. Plane. I'm gonna call this How about headband? Yep, head. Okay, cool. Headband. Bring it down. Get it a little. See what's going on. I'm gonna scale it on the X to the approximate width. This is where it's gonna get interesting because at this point, I'm gonna have to wrap this thing on a semicircle, overlap it. I have an idea of what I can do. It's a little risky to like try it, but why? I'm gonna just tab into edit mode. I'm gonna grab. I'm gonna go into X-ray mode. I'm gonna grab these two vertices, extrude them up. So wrap this over left. So I'm just gonna keep extruding. So this other one's gonna come up a little bit, and it's gonna do the same. You'll see what I mean in a second, guys. I know this is kind of hard to follow because you can't really see much. There we go. So I basically created this thing that's wrapped like that. If I add a solidify, sorry, if I generate solidify it, now I can adjust this, right? Bring this anywhere that I want to for that. That's cool. Also, getting some issues there, but that's okay. And then you can add a bevel and stuff like that. This is a good start. Now, I think I could take this. I could potentially subdivide this whole plane before I did that. By the scale. See if I subdivide it. Then I'll add a curve modifier. Sorry, it's in deform. All right, curve. I'll add in our Bezier curve. Circle. Up. RY. 9. Up. That. Now, one thing I should probably do before I go about doing this stuff is adjust everything to the center, because right now but I just want to see if this is even a good one. The reason let's try. Yeah, it was. Okay, so this is what I was going for. Now I know it doesn't look great right now, but this is how I was hoping to form this, because now we have our curve for headphones. We have our thickness that we wanted for like the actual part, and then we could come in here after and we could go into sculpt mode. So at this point, what I could do, take this base level version, subdivide it one more time, right? You see how every time I subdivide it, I'm getting a little more geometry. It becomes a little bigger. This is kind of like what I was going for. And what we can do is we can tab into edit mode, scale it on the X, and it should be able to connect eventually. I do want to see on side view how it looks. I'm going to scale, and we can scale this down too. Ability X to scale it out, and that will give us a little bit of length. X to scale it out, a little bit of length. That looks pretty good. And then of course we can adjust the thickness of it. And that's kind of what's great about the modifiers, is that we can pretty much adjust them as needed. Pretty good. And then again, this wouldn't be like this if we didn't need the overlapping structure. Right now we have that overlapping structure, so that's why we need it to look like this. It looks a little ridiculous, but I think once we start adding some modifiers, it should look pretty good. All right, have our plane. Move this into the headband. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep a backup of this. I'm going to Shift D to duplicate, right click, convert to mesh, keep the backup, which, okay, we'll keep the backup. This is going to be our new band. I'm going to hide circle. I'm going to make sure this is like pretty level. reset the origin to geometry. I'm going to double check to see how this is lined up. We'll come back to that, but this looks good. Tab into edit mode, see the geometry. I'm going to add a modifier, generate a remesh. I go to smooth, remove disconnected. I'm going to uncheck that. I'm going to give it 8 levels, and I just want to see where we're going to do 9. I'm going to do 9 levels and apply it. See what the geometry looks like. All right, I think that's definitely something we could work with in our editor. At least in, I'm sorry, in sculpting. All right, this looks good. All right, let's add some buttons. 1, 4. There's 4 buttons. Let's just create a button real quick out of a. Actually, we could use a sphere. Let me see. Yeah, let's use a sphere. Go ahead and create a button out of this. I'm gonna tab into edit mode. I'm gonna just cut the bottom off. So, but make sure you guys are always in X-ray mode when you do this stuff. I'm gonna slim this down. Good. I'm gonna go ahead and move it over, scale it down to the approximate size, which is. I'm gonna go ahead and move it here, down, out of X-ray mode. This looks pretty good. All right. I know it doesn't look like much, but this is really all I need for. And then the rest is like tech. All right, so these are, I think I'm gonna place these manually. I could do a curve modifier, but they kind of look. They'll probably look better if I just place them manually. First one's gonna be like here, right near the edge of. Perfect. Second one's gonna be roughly right here. I'll adjust their y-axis in a second. Strangely spaced out. Good, and at least this one. Good. Now, what's great is in sculpting mode, we'll be able to like pin these down. They're all on the very edge of this, so they're about where they need to be. Let me also move headband color. And starting to look pretty good. You guys can see pretty good. We'll be able to make them look like they're pressed down onto the fabric, which is going to be really cool. I'm excited to like get into sculpting mode with this. Pretty darn good for like being hand placed. I think that's pretty good placement. I'm pretty darn happy with this so far. All right, one thing I'm gonna do is I know this is probably this is gonna be frowned upon a little bit, but I don't really care. I'm gonna go ahead and add in a empty. I'll do plain axis here. I'm gonna mirror everything over to the other side. Select R, and we're good. So we're gonna do that for everything, and then I'll move the empty accordingly, depending on how I need to. Mirror. We're gonna do this for every piece. Oh, this should be this guy. Mirror modifier. Empty. Mirror modifier yet again. Oh, the screws and so the headphone thing, this thing right here. Obviously, we're not going to duplicate that. There's only one wire that attaches here. Oh, and then you know what I missed, guys? The actual plush part of the headphones. I did not do that yet. What else am I missing, guys? Oh, the screw. One more. Choose the X mirror object, which is this guy right here. We mirror modifier, and you guessed it, we're going to choose the empty. Oh, the screws. These screws right here. One more wire for the road. Choose our X axis. It's coming along pretty nicely. Now here's the best part. Might glitch a little bit. I move this empty. I am also moving the entire other. This looks pretty good though. I'm pretty happy with this. We're gonna adjust the headband as we see fit. So far good. I'm gonna move it just an inch left. That looks good. This is good. Okay, I realize before we get into the actual headphone band part and we do the sculpting for that, which probably will take the longest, I want to add in some Tauruses for the like padding on. So let me go ahead and add. Actually, that looks like it might be the perfect RY90 up scale. That's about right. All right, good. And now I'm just gonna kind of like adjust this a little. Second, we'll add a subdiv, generate a surface. We just need, well, modifier too. I'll just add it now, disable it, re-enable it. Cool. So far these are actually looking pretty good for not having worked on them. Pretty happy the way they're. Let's go ahead and see what I was gonna do. Oh, I was gonna just drag the middle loop cut in just a little bit. Edit mode. Drag the inner edge loop. I'm just gonna drag it inwards. Just select loops, edge loops. So that's kind of how it looks on the inside. If you guys look, I think that's good. We'll edit mode. Press slash again, and then I'm just gonna flip this. I realize I did it on the wrong side. That's fine. That looks fantastic. And then I'm just gonna see. Go ahead and tab into edit frame mode. Go to my vertices select. Scale them in. The look I'm going for. This is perfect. They're not too fluffy, believe it or not, but we will be adding like, or I'm sorry, hair system. This looks pretty good so far. I'm pretty happy with progress. All right. So, on to the hard part, which is going to be the sculpting, right? Now, this is a very dense mesh. It has a lot to it. That's exactly what I want. One of the first things I'm going to do, I'm going to head over to sculpting. Turn my random textures on. Now, I won't need to use symmetry for this because it's pretty random anyway. I'm going to start off by like smoothing everything over. I think I'm going to hit it with a smooth tool here. See what that does. Good. Literally just going to hit the whole. All right. One of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to do like an indent on it. And I'm going to add some like kind of like cloth lines, I think. I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to go about it, but so far this is looking. And I think I'm going to add a crease on the edges here. What side is that on? Side with the on the side opposite of the button. So there's going to be like some kind of crease here. Let's see if I can do the crease first. This tool. All right, let's go ahead and reduce the radius, up the strength. That's what I'm looking for, but it's going to be smaller. Go ahead and enable only our symmetry for this part here. All right, this should be pretty easy to do. It's just going to be a simple like lines that go across this. They're about here, so I'm going to start here. Not going to be that intense. I'll reduce strength, radius. Actually, do I have? I think I have a Wacom. Kind of like doing this, but not perfect on. I'm gonna go to a side view and just see how this looks. Not bad. Kind of what I was going. And that like handmade look is honestly exactly what I'm going. It's by no means perfect, especially if I'm doing it free. Symmetrical editing. Well, needless to say, didn't really work. I feel like I do, and in the weirdest way, I feel like sculpting mode isn't used there, and I should probably get the hang of using it more. That doesn't look bad. That was kind of what I was going for that one side. All right, now for this part right here, where this indents down, I think I might just use the elastic deform, grab, or the snake hook. Let's try thumb first because I want to see how powerful this is. Yeah, the thumb kind of just like presses down. I think that's here. Actually, let's grab might work. Remember, these are going to be like pressed in. Try to make them look pressed in. And I'll probably like inflate the edges. Looks pretty. Yep. Boom. See how it's just slight, but it kind of looks nice. It's kind of what I was going for. And then there's we'll be able to push the button in. That looks awesome. And then if we want to, we can come in here with the inflate brush, like inflate the edges just a bit. It kind of like it's being pinned down, like the actual. We'll come back to this too, but this is starting to look really. I don't normally like put this level of detail into like all my work, but I'm trying to just get better and like really focus on the detail work. Now, what's great is I have a great material that we're gonna. This that looks pretty damn. All right, I want to bunch up the fabric underneath and make it look like this. So let's see how we can do that. I think I might just be able to like crease it a few times, and then we can use the inflate tool to like inflate certain parts of it, make it look a little. I just want to see how powerful the crease tool is under here. Do you think if radius? See how I can kind of crease this wherever I want? That is kind of what I'm going. Right here, like this could be a heavy crease, right? This is literally the perfect tool for this. I'm gonna crease this up, and I'll continue the crease on this side too. So I'll like crease it right there, crease it here, and I'm gonna do some finer ones. Crazy how like this tool is actually it was the first tool I grabbed, and it just happened to be. Look at that, and that's exactly what I was. And I can come in here again with like a sharper tool, and I can really exaggerate. There's a lot. There's a lot of creases. I'm gonna go on the edges here, and I'm gonna use a smaller version of this tool. I'm gonna really come in here and just like those. Got. Okay. I'll probably come underneath too. Much. Probably don't want to like do too many of these, but this looks great. And then we can come in there and we can deform it further if we. Awesome. I wish I had my tablet because I feel like if I had my tablet, it would be here. Awesome. Not perfect, but I like it. And I'm curious to see what it ends up looking like. Then we can come in here and we can further adjust as but we have the basic shape that we were looking for. So I'm excited to see how this ends up. It's a little rough, so I'll probably come in here and smooth it out a little bit. But isn't that cool? I feel like that was kind of a neat way to do that. All right, let's go ahead and increase the radius of our inflate brush. Let's inflate a few of these areas here. I'm going to go to my bottom. Go ahead and inflate a couple of these areas here. There we go. Now we can really start making. Let's. What are the? Oh, I know what I'm gonna. I know what tool I'm gonna use. All right, I'm going to use the pinch tool. See how I can. Yeah, so with the pinch tool, you can like really pinch the fabric. I think what I'll do is I'll do these edges. That, and I think I'll also run the crease up just a little bit more. Then I'm gonna go ahead and use the tab to grab a few of these edges and put them in that. Get a little bit. Go to my side view. Maybe work on that more. I'm not gonna focus on this too much, but I just want to show you guys like how I would go about this. Doing. I could probably spend 10 hours trying to make this. Um, but let's go ahead with the smooth tool. Bump the strength down to 0.2. Let's smooth out some of that stuff. The reason I'm hitting it with the smooth tool is because I think a few of those lines just a little bit too short. I'm also going to look at the top, see if I'm missing important details. The top's pretty smooth for the most part, but there's a few. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my. We're using, guys, the crease tool. I'm going to take the crease tool and I'm guys here. I'm going to do probably a small and a strength. Make it look a little here. Give it some variation. A little bit of variation. Now, one other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the bottoms down here because these right here should be overlapping that one. Starting to look really good though. And again, this is like barely really scraping the surface with the texturing, or sorry, the sculpting. So I'm going to go ahead and click on my elastic. Try to drag this down top of my bones. So without messing up the crease. So this looks weird, but this is actually how it looks in real life. Try to replicate that. Kind of just covers the bottom. It doesn't really like. I explain it. It's not really attached in any way. I think it just covers it up. Totally fine by me. Yeah, because if you look, more or less just up. Oops, you know. I realize now that I was wrong. Sorry, guys. It goes like this. It goes above this piece. That is my fault. Okay, we can adjust it. Yeah, it goes kind of like this. Yep, it looks like that on both sides. So I'm gonna accordingly down. Yep, and I will adjust for that button. Probably should have done this part first and then press that. You live and you learn, right, guys? You can only get better. And that's why I try to remind myself. I think a lot of people they like to point out like mistakes in your stuff that's not that good. But you have to remember, you can only get better. You can't get worse. You get better. And I try to like keep that positive mind. Sometimes if I'm feeling down on my work, or I don't think my work's that good. Oh, you can only get better. You can't get worse, right? The only way you would get worse is if you quite literally lost your memory on this. So I try to remember that. Smooth this area here real quick. button part by simply putting a, did I do elastic, I think, did I do the thumb tool? I think, what I did the last time. Oh, maybe I did. All good. And then we'll just quickly give it a little bit of inflation, or we can come back. That looks good though. All right. I think we're about to be ready for I'm pretty happy with this. I will say like the sizing, like the dimensions of everything could probably be adjusted a little bit, but for the most part, I'm pretty happy with these. I think what I'll do is might upload the texturing as a separate part so I can take a quick break to eat. So listen up, guys. I will go ahead and cut this right now. I'm gonna upload this part, and then I'm gonna come back to the text. So when I come back on my live stream, we'll go over texture. All right, does that sound good, guys? I need a little break so I can eat, and then I will come back. All right, guys, peace out. I will be back. YouTube, watch out for part 2. All right, guys.